Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I am your host, as always, Jay Villain, aka That Villain Jay. And tonight we have a very special treat for you, a little something different. We are going over the Alchemy nerfs and buffs and the standard bans, guys. Big changes coming, and not a moment too soon. If you missed my video about what I think needed nerfs, the top 5 nerfs in Alchemy, I'm pretty proud of myself for that one because I got about 4 of them right of the changes that were coming down. I didn't guess what they would nerf, but I gave some suggestions. But I'm pretty happy with myself that I pretty much guessed the ones that were the problem. Now, some of the ones that were the problem didn't get nerfed. Some of the stuff didn't get buffed. And then, of course, there's long-awaited bans that came through for standard and for everything else. So before we get down to that, guys, I need you to do something for me. Do you know what that is? Tenderly press that like button. Gently press that subscribe button. Or else, well, guys, the like and subscribe will come and brutally maul you with his werewolf claws. It's just going to happen. Just tenderly go down there and press that button for me. Join us on a stream every night at twitch.tv/thatvillainj for all live streaming goodness. We would love to have you there. Get all the latest news and information. Check out our Discord. We'd love to have you there as well. Discord community, Kamigawa spoilers, ask for deck help, anything like that. And you can check out my AetherHub where you have all my previous decks built. So what are we talking about here? Let me go to this page. Now, there isn't a dark mode on their page, so it's going to explode with brightness. Oh my god, look at that. What is the big news, guy? Banned and restricted announcements coming out today. Elrune's Epiphany is banned. Do I even need to tell you what this card is? This is the extra turn. This ban comes about 5 months too late, but here it is. They think they did everything they could to keep it in there. They nerfed it in Alchemy. They tried to do all kind of stuff. And it just wasn't working, guys. It had to go. And good riddance. Now here's the ones that are surprising. Divide by Zero is banned in Standard. I'm surprised they did it. I wasn't expecting it, but I understand why. A lot of people saying, why? Why? This was better than a counterspell because it returned spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand. So any permanent with value 1 or greater went back to your hand. It just would push whatever you wanted. It just slowed you down. And it let you learn, so it let you just control the board. It was a really ridiculous. Nobody predicted this being an OP card, but in the face of control, it was unbelievably powerful. And then Faceless Haven, another shocker, is banned. We thought we might... This one was a subject of controversy because it got nerfed. It was a little bit OP. The restriction on it just had to have snowlands, not really a thing. This was the mono-colored helper. This was mono green, mono white. It even controls helper, man. Fantastic. It's every creature type. It's a really good card. They nerfed it in Alchemy, but in Standard, it's just gone. In my opinion, this ban was aimed straightly directly at control decks. Control was running the board with everybody. If you ran a total control deck, you were gonna win 90% of the time, unless the shuffler just decided to screw you or somebody beat you on the draw or something like that. This had to bring down the power of control, which is something that I've been saying for a while. Mid-range decks, black, it made so many things ineffective. Legacy, nobody cares. Historic Memory Lapse is banned from Suspended. That's surprising. And then they rebalanced Teferi and brought him back. 3 Fairy. So they brought him back from the previous Mirror. They made him the Mirror version, which is pretty interesting. It goes into effect the 27th. Okay. Don is saying, it was also aimed directly at monocolored aggro decks. So the top 2 decks is basically Control and monocolored super aggro with tons of board wipes, Faceless Haven, Epiphany, and all them really did help. So it does go into effect the 27th. So this video is going up the 26th. These will go into effect tomorrow. We'll see here. They go through this and it makes it hard to interact with. The often frustrating play pattern of chaining extra turns out of fans. Our data gives us concern that other blue decks are poised to reduce the metagame by dirty by shutting out diverse strategies and divide by zero, blah, 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 blah. So they specifically call out the mono blue control here, man. Divide by zero, Lier, Hullbreaker, Horror. These are the games that I make fun of, that when I pull up Solitaire and I do nothing and I just sit around and do absolutely nothing, they're aware of that. They see the metagame more than we do. They have all the information. They're literally holding all the cards. It's ridiculous that it took this long, because it's not fun to be on the receiving end of. It really isn't. So I'm glad for these bans. This might make me go back to Historic. It might make me crawl out of my Alchemy shell and try the Historic list a little bit more. So I'm hoping that Kamigawa brings up the power level and makes other things more useful. But the main thing that they're trying to counteract here is these powerful cards, the control meta and the monocolored aggro meta. If they didn't release anything in Kamigawa that could beat it, it was going to get swallowed up by VOW. VOW went over like a pebble in the ocean. It just, whoop. I'm sorry, yeah, standard. So yeah, they're going to get swallowed up. This might make me come back from Alchemy to standard a little bit. Sorry, misspoke there. But VOW just got swallowed up by the ocean that was completely and totally the control meta and all these other things, because we looked at VOW and we said nothing is changing. There's nothing here that can help us. There's really not anything at all that we can do. It's gonna not change. So the three fairy rebalance, I believe, is it comes in with less points. And then it casts sorcery. I don't know. I never played Three Fairy, so I don't know. You can check it out. I'll put the link in the description. So let's see here. That's the Three Fairy. That's the rebalance. And then they have a whole article about how they did that. So standard looks like it's he's 4 mana with 4 loyalty. Yeah, that's what I thought. Standard looks like it's going to be a little bit of better situation, and hopefully Kamigawa will not be completely devoured by the control meta, which is the main thing that they wanted to do, because they couldn't have that happen again. VOW, like I said, VOW just got swallowed whole, to use the phrase from Kaldheim. It just got eaten up, and there was just nothing in there that did anything. So I think that's a positive thing. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. I want you to leave a comment. What do you think about these bans? Did they miss something? Did they forget something? Did they overshoot? Did they undershoot? Let me know in the comments. However, we're going to move to Alchemy right now. The buffs and nerfs, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I like Alchemy. They can shake it up completely. They can shake it up completely. 8 balance recards. Look at this. Dungeons are back, guys. They said we wanted to make the venture keyword less clunky and more reliable. Too many vards were clustered at 3 mana, and we reduced the cost, blah, 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 blah. I liked venture, so I'm going to look at this one. So they removed opponent's sacrifice to sacrifice a creature on the attack, so they made a Serac a little bit sharper. Assemble from parts, they lowered the cost down from 2B, so it wasn't getting played, so I think they made it a little bit too expensive. Blood Rage Alpha, they brought up the power, which I was always a little bit confused. It seemed like not a very good whatchamacallit on that one. Now it's a 4/4. Cloister Gargoyle, I don't really like this one. It's cheaper and its power is less, but it does help a little bit. Dungeon Descent, oh my god, what an awful, awful, awful card they printed here, man. 4 for activation costs, bro. 4 for a land activation cost, man. For a rare land. You want me to spend rares to get a colorless land that I can activate for 4? Whew. Yeah, this is going to help a little bit. I don't know if it's still any good, honestly, but at least they made it remotely viable. Decreased ability activation cost is a little easier to get off. I actually really like Fate's Reversal. 1 black is extremely useful for resurrecting a card and venturing into the dungeon. That's probably going to see some play. Find the Path is a little bit more useful. Little teeny bit more useful, especially when you can add 2 land of any color, so that's a little bit more adventurous. and you get to venture in the dungeon. Puppet Razor, I don't think anyone was playing this either. They raised the toughness, but I don't really think that adds to too much utility because it's kind of got a complex thing. Precipitous Drop, this is one that people actually still played, man. People still Precipitous Dropped you. And I think it's going to see more and more play. And here's my big boy right here, man. You know we're going back to Orzhov Knights with this one. He is absolutely punishing with 2-3. This is a dangerous card. 2-3 Death Touch, attacking as first strike, and every time it attacks it has dungeon. Yes, please. Yes, 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 please. Triumphant Adventurer, absolutely. So I think Orzhov Dungeons are really going to make a comeback here, man. I think I'm going to do one. We're going to try to go back into the dungeon again. We're going to give it a shot. But I'm really excited about this one extra power, I think you mean. Absolutely. Especially going in, especially death touching, pushing that amount of power, especially multiple of these down the board can do it. So here are the adjustments. Divide by 0. They didn't ban it. Oh, Eliwick? Yeah. Gets 2/2 for each, blah, 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 blah. So, divide by 0, they changed it. Only learns if a target spell with a permanent of value 3 or less. I don't think it's enough of a nerf, man. I don't think it should have just been return something with 4 or less, period. I don't think it's that big enough of a nerf. I was surprised by this one. Back into the dungeon, Zerathur said he never left. I was surprised by this one, that they banned it. I still think it's going to see tons and tons of play. I really don't think... The learning thing is not an issue. I know that they often learned it and got more mana and they got a lot of different stuff, but I don't think it's that big of a nerf. Now, this one I called. I said Fearsome Whelp needs some changes. Too powerful in my previous video. Flying and haste now, so it can hit the board and run, but now it's at the beginning of your upkeep your dragons get cheaper, so it doesn't immediately affect. It previously was, if you played it on your second main phase, if they didn't kill it right away, if they didn't have an instant on the second main phase to immediately kill it, all of the dragons were reduced. What I had called for is it only does 1 dragon in your hand. They went a different route to make it a little bit slower, but speed them up and push them in there. Interesting, but I did call this one. Fearsome Whelp needed to be adjusted. Hullbreaker, man, I just wish it was banned, bro. I just wish it was banned. Now it can be countered. That's all. It's just a little bit more ridiculous. And they talk about with the Lier decks. Is the only thing that this helps is if you're playing also blue, you can interact with it. Makes the mirror much more fun. This also makes aggro control more viable. Disdainful Stroke can reliably threat with new threats. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, they don't ban in Alchemy, so I mean, I just wish they would have nerfed it. What I wanted to see, what my suggestion was, is these effects you should have to pay for them. You should have to pay mana to get these effects off. So you can't get them multiple, because what they would do is they'd load up their hand with cheap spells and just decimate the board, just fling everything back with cheap spells. So if you put a little bit of a mana tax on that, or once a turn or something like that, I don't think the issue was the interaction. I think the issue was his power. So Inquisitor Captain. So the only thing they got rid of here, I was surprised. I thought they'd reduce the number of things, but the only thing they got rid of here was the Glasspool Mimic and Soul Herder trick in Alchemy. So what that basically means is that you have to cast it. Only when it's cast is a trigger. So that means no more Glasspool Mimic trick, and no more the other trick that you could do in mono white or even any kind of thing was the teleportation circle. If you cast it and there are 20 more cards, so it does slow it down a little bit. Losing that double trick where you could grab a Glasspool Mimic and then mimic another Inquisitor Captain and then do it again and again and again and again. Very, very powerful. So you can see they went at the head of a lot of different games here. Blue control, Azorius control, dragons, clerics, Lier, ladies and gentlemen. Lier. What are we going to do with you, Lier? Spells can't be countered as long as you turn each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. They cannot cast the spells on your turn. It's only on their turn. Good call. I didn't think Lier was going to get nerfed. I did call Inquisitor Captain get nerfed. I didn't think Lier was. I think this will help. I still think blue control is going to be viable. People might be mad and just jump off of it because they said, oh, it doesn't work exactly how I thought it was, so I don't want to have to relearn anything. But I do like that it did slow it down. And Sanguine Brushstroke, as much as I liked Sanguine Brushstroke, as much as I loved Sanguine Brushstroke, you don't gain life anymore. Each opponent loses life. That is still powerful, but it's not as powerful. If you saw Meat Hook Massacre, what you could do, and with Vito's daughter and any kind of life, or Dina, Soul Steeper, you could get brutal combos. You can still drain life out. They'll still lose life like crazy. But you still get your Blood Artist. But I knew this was too prevalent, man. This was top gear. This was probably one of the best black cards we have. So definitely I saw that it was going to go down. And I was surprised it did. Town Razor. They really hit Town Razor hard, man. Oof. Target non-basic land, bro. It used to just be any land. Now if they're running basic lands, Town Razor doesn't do anything, man. So if they're running anything, at all, if they're running, you can burn them, man. But man, that is a really hard hit to Town Razor. So between Town Razor and Fearsome Whelp going down, I really think Dragons has taken a hit. Absolutely, Dragons has absolutely taken a brutal hit here. So now you know, to get around Town Razor, just play your basic lands, and not everybody plays double lands, and not everybody plays tricky lands. Now they do, but you're going to lose them to the fire. You're just not going to get eaten out of total lands completely. You're not going to get absolutely massacred with Town Razor after Town Razor after Town Razor burning up lands. So I think he absolutely got really hit hard. And here is the new Teferi Time Raveler, the 4 fairy, not 3 fairy. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, is what it says. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Return 1 artifact, creature, enchantment to its owner's hand. Draw a card for the -3, and it's a little bit more expensive. So the delay of it is on turn 3. You could essentially, if you were on the play, you could essentially take over the whole board on turn 3. You just had unlimited power. So those are the changes, guys. I will leave the links in the description. I'm pretty surprised that I'm surprised they buffed so much dungeon stuff. They just said, hey, dungeon's the flavor of the month. I like that they buffed some of these cards that aren't getting too much play. Additionally, I am happy with some of these nerfs. It really is going to shake up the meta. It really is going to help. And just as I was saying, to be honest, man, just as I was saying the meta was getting boring, they come in and they shake it up. And that's what I like, man. As soon as things were getting stale, they came in and they changed things. So I like that. It's a little bit frustrating. This is the format, though. You know what you're buying into. They can always change. They could go up. They could go down. They could go left, they could go right. So I like that. I like that we have to start thinking about our decks over and over again. We can't rest on our laurels. We have to keep changing. We have to keep innovating. Because that's the name of the game, guys. This is a deck building game. This isn't a board wipe spamming game, as much as some people would like to make it be. Is it Bouncer Counter? Remember America's favorite game show, Bouncer Counter? This is a deck building game, man. So let's get back to building decks. And I'm really disappointed. Missing from the list here is Keys, Azorius Keys. I wanted Azorius Keys. I wanted Approach of the Second Sun out of there. That's what I wanted. I'm really sad we didn't see Keys. I don't see anything else that really is missing except for Keys to the Archive. It needs to be 2 things. It needs to be legendary. It needs to be a legendary enchantment. And it additionally needs to get rid of the Approach of the Second Sun, because that essentially gets rid of that deck completely. Maybe that's why they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to nerf it that bad, but in my opinion, they should have. So that's the only one that's missing. We're going to leave it right there tonight. Just a little quick update along with some Kamigawa stuff. If you haven't checked the Kamigawa video out, please check it. You can go back and look at my ideas. Maybe you like my changes better if you want to go look back at my bans and nerfs and stuff that I did. And that's all. Until next time, guys. I've been Jay Villain. You've been great. And the word of the day is Alrunes is freaking gone. That's the word of the day. Fucking Alrunes.